April 19th, 11:21 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 2. Hey there, folks. rinimt here, and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Thank you, Capcom Creators, for the code. We are back in the past, finding out what in the world happened 7 years ago. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Or that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know? I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened? Ah, the way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You'll scare Tracy. Speaking of which, where is she? You have seen the problem yourself. The letter. The one shot in the forehead one, right? Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death. Why not? This is something I will not say. For now, at least. What's this for now business? I have done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. We? You wanted to know about the night of the incident? Finally, this guy sure looks to take his time getting to the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. Snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. And found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. 2? Yes, the one I had used on stage. And the one that had been used by my partner, Valen. Oh, for the Zack and Valen's quick draw thing. My mentor had the look of one sleeping. Stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. Did not deny that my resolve faltered then for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. So there were other requests you couldn't refuse before? To be honest, I have not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Tracy. Was Magnifi coercing? Try again. Was Magnifi coercing his disciple somehow? Just what was going on in true Gramarye? Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. In your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. And what were those called? Rifling marks. Yes, well, that is all I have to tell you concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me? You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks? Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes open. What? Magnifi Gramarye? The old devil. He was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Haha, Mr. Wright. Did not just tell you. Does not concern in this case. That Gramarye, he seems pretty steadfast to me. Or maybe he's just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right, let's get back in there. April 19th, 11:37 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 7. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out of the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks? There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis, though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness. How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of True Gramarye's famous duo, Zack and Valent. Valent Gramarye. So, we get to meet the great Magnifi's other disciple. He looks so much younger. Perhaps we'll start by asking who your name and occupation. Valent Gramarye, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student, your partner's guilt. A fate, the grand illusion filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. You're a witness. Does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay, I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, a witness received this. That looks very familiar. Wait, that's the same letter Zack Gramarye received. Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! I can't do both their accents at the same saying. Order, order, order! And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Lucien Valent, to you I entrust the task of lowering my life's curtain from the 13th at 11:20 p.m. Why, it's practically the same. The court accepts this into evidence. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your troop Gramarye up to? By which you mean... I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion there, Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about the reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. Defendant Zack Gramarye stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating, though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as a suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes, and now it's time to get this party fired up. Alright, witness testimony. Nights of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. Did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Get a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. And informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed, I would think. This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zack Gramarye, is guilty. It wasn't Zack Gramarye, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Alright, night of the crime. Let's press. Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m. Indeed, the magic time is everything. Right. Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic. Now that you revealed the very secrets of your magic to all of us, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see? smell of gunpowder hung in the room. My mentor had taken his final bow. So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes, when the shooter was still nearby. I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. Witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. And my fellow students never see the same things. Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So it does, and my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why couldn't you refuse? Why could you refuse if Zack couldn't? Because I have a will of steel! Of course, I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't all that strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? The deal was their still deal. That sweet kiss I gave to the child. There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one that who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner Zack has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed the murder. I'll take around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask you something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, the number of pistols. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean, what precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Valent quick draw shoot, correct? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends that's in the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. Snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. Found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. Took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problems with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all. So, you picked up that pistol and fired it. Indeed, I did. Alakazam! Alakazing! Alakaboom! Is the number of pistols really so important? Yeah. Number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do, little bae? Only 1 pistol was in the hospital. With that, I shot the So, you took the only pistol there and fired it. That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene. Good show! I see you two are a magician of sorts. And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballads bore me. I got a hunch, but maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask about something else? I feel like the number is really important. Let's run with this testimony for a while longer. I feel like that part's important. I informed the doctor and the police. So you informed the police. What did you do then? What do you suppose I did? I used my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Now please, answer the question. Skip the sarcasm. After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine. Oh, we've confirmed this with the doctor. It all checks out. He praised Mr. Valent's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. Ah, it is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept. Both of Magnifi's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired, and one of them killed Magnifi. Trying to find the cracks in his testimony. I have... I present on this one. According to the defendant, Gramarye, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2! One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left it with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Balance told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Ballant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us? We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullet were a perfect match. Mr. Ballant, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order! Well, this is all rather sudden.
Objection!
What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifle marks only proved the type of gun that had fired them.
Objection!
But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now, quite sincerely. I might add, would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning. I am still young, and I might add, it wasn't really my fault. The defendant had only a minute. He took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime. We would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Valid Gramarye? Yes, Your Honor. You are presented to this court as a decisive witness. You've proven to be more divisive than decisive.
Objection!
You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valance entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot, as his next testimony would prove. Right, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20. On discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation and called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at the time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. Talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. Use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. Easy to explain the situation, Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years, Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, it will play for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Do it 100 times and the result is the same. Our debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And the time of death, it's determined by the doctor there, is an incontrovertible truth. Very well, the prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise timings. We can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations. Unless we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on. Right. Are they saying I can't press for fun? Is that what I'm hearing? Or is it just if I... We're pressing! 11:20 p.m. Can you prove that's when you arrived? Alas, no such a feat may be beyond even the great Valens. Further was no one in that room but Magnifi, and he was disappointed after a fashion. I have here defendant Gramarye's sworn deposition. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. It was 10 minutes before I left the room, and the victim was still alive. Communicated by Slayer Zach was 11:05. Exactly, which means the witness could not have entered that room before 11:15, because his partner was still in the middle of his crime. I see someone did their arithmetic homework. You see it, the defendant himself has corroborated the witness's testimony. Does that all make sense? No. I don't see any problem with the testimony. If you say so, then let's continue, shall we? I guess that's what they mean. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. Covering the body, I fulfill my obligation. The call to the victor. You walk in on a murder, and the first thing you do is shoot the clown? The disciple does what the disciple must. My mentor's request without reason had cause for me to suffer the sorrow. For what would I, Valens, be with now without him? The soul of Magnifi the Great find greater peace above. As I murmured to myself as I pulled that lonely trigger. In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments. Attorney? Remember Basil's remarks will earn penalties? See with that in mind? Yes, Your Honor. What a pain this is turning out to be. Okay, the fact that they're like doing that on that first one. Alright, and the body. Did the doctor say anything concerning the cause of death? Why, yes, I believe he screamed, "My God, he's been shot in the head." Doesn't take a doctor to notice that. I probably would have screamed the same thing. And I would have penned the requiem that rose in my soul at the torrid sight. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned investigation? In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I am still waiting for one of those right moments, Attorney. Penalties. Keep that in mind. Okay, so the fact that that one had that on it is making me wonder. But we'll see. I'm still gonna go with all of them, but they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, you had a penalty for going through all this." I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could a doctor be so precise with the time? Would you usually get an estimated time of death? True. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic reveals the makings of a complex appearance of the complex very simple, but reality is the opposite. Appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we have heard earlier about the victim Magnifi Gramarye's schedule. Every night at 11 o'clock, Magnifi took an IV drip for 30 minutes. It's the IV bag right there, yes? Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Ah, the needle's been removed. And doubtlessly it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. It was poorly put in. When a needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah, you could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions for our purpose is as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. The amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had been stopped 10 minutes after administration began. But it could have just been taken out. And so it was when I, Valens, entered the room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Does that seem important? Yeah, like, why would him being shot jangle it loose? That makes no sense to me in a logical point of view. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way of determining the time. Behold the power of arithmetic! Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. And sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. Like springs not eternal. Every like a perfect. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When at first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then his left arm did I spy a rose drooping and wilted. It's torn to discarded IV Neil. Knocked in the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspects itself. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. What, when Zack and Val won their first Magician's Grand Prix? Yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians. I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy a bust. Oh, what a day that was. This is one trip down memory lane no one needs. But like a color, yes indeed, and that I be too. I say I think 'twas used especially for me, Valet. That does seem to be the case indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? Well, sure looks happy with himself. How about this lucky color testimony? Court record. Look at the details here. Maybe it's just the coloring, but that doesn't look... Maybe it is yellow, but it looks almost green. Like a lime, sort of color. But yeah, like, that IV would not have been put in very well if that was a bit loose, you know? Like, that's what's really getting me right now. But... I just... Like, to me... It doesn't look yellow. It looks green. But it could just be because of the bag is, like, obscure... Wait. Hold up. Primary colors. No, that would make green. That's fine. Okay. I don't see a problem with that testimony. If you say so, let's continue, shall we? Sometimes the most magical things of all is the truth. You entered that hospital room at 11:20 p.m. The time given by the defendant Zach Gramarye was 11:05 p.m. You didn't run into me in the hospital at that night? This is why I never perform with amateurs, you see. Huh? Picture, if you will, the nighttime hospital. Outside, only the pale lights of the moon. If you dressed as we were to meet in such circumstances, I dare say that would ruin the mood completely. The mood isn't in question here. I believe the witness is saying they didn't meet, y'all. What is magic if not the study of beauty? As meaning was not only out of the question, it was an impossibility. What is magic if not the study of how to make absolutely no sense at all? That said, is there a contradiction in here? Was it an impossibility? I mean, I don't know. Take the penalty. The only problem I see here is a glaring contradiction in that testimony. The question mark. I guess it was. You have been warned, Right. Baseless remarks will be penalized. Well put, Prosecutor Gavin. Oh, Mr. Wright, here's my answer to your question. Meh. Ugh. I'll buy over a matter of minutes. Precise is right. Proceeding with impunity will earn me a nice penalty, too. I'm gonna focus on one thing, this time of death. Get back through this. We'll just take the penalties if I have to. Certainly sounds like your lucky color brought you plenty of luck. Not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Okay, yeah. Please recall my wording at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. This accusation will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Hurry, I've got all your bases right here. Let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us? We're gonna get a primary color thing, aren't we? Crime scene tells all, Your Honor. A photo of the crime scene? All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Right, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Oh, we're going back to primary colors, aren't we? This photo contradicts the witness's statement. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's this, right? Now, Gramarye, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes. Kinda takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. I'm worried, 'cause it's... What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? You and my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. Look at that IV bag. What is this? What foul It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. Alakazoo! Order! 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 What does this mean?
Objection!
This is some kind of mistake? Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Still fighting this stupid cough, for the record. Ugh. Your witness's mistake? The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there is no substitute for experience. Now, Gramarye, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well... This contradiction can only mean one thing.
Objection!
And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. Wait, how do you mean? The exact thing I'm thinking of. How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear a sort of greenish yellow. I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. a yellow liquid. How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like a, I want to say, light blue? Precisely, I figured it out yet. The yellow liquid in the blue bag, and you get a green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see. Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it. This is the worry I have with this whole entire line of thinking.
Objection!
As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave for you, that is. Grave? Liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, defense requests an explanation from the witness. The scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. Let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alakazam! Order, order, order! Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. Witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid. I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Magnifi Gramarye, has testified that the IV bag was yellow because he knew the IV liquids I've seen it before. Now, the facts before us, the answer is clear. Witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. Not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. It's all liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag. Suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at the hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bumper fans, yeah?
Objection!
Yeah, IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Acclaimed Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Ooh, wait, I know! An hourglass uses sand, but IV bag uses liquid. I'm right. Right? As much as it pays me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sand to the hourglass, the IV liquid enters the patient's body. At which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there is no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight, alright? You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag? Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. No, wait! I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task?
Objection!
I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. Yeah, liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I'm tired of these fairy tales blocking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Now, Gramarye, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All you do is work a little magic, and the prop was The syringe that was washed.
Take that!
The victim's syringe is the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use.
Objection!
What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? Victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valiant Gramarye, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect lock. One that you could manipulate at will. Goes on. I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work. I see there are no objections towards your... Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you in a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there is no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I admit, after all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Judge, I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim, Magnifi Gramarye's diary. Diary. After going into the hospital, Magnifi began writing his memoirs, it seems. Story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? Reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 o'clock p.m. Let's read it, shall we? This does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence. Of course, what we know from the future now. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Gramarye. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. Look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, it may go on. It may go on. Magnifi Gramarye intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gramarye didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnifi's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Gramarye. Order! 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 Prosecutor Gavin? Are you certain that Magnifi Gramarye wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifi did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Gramarye. Oh well, how do you like me now, Erret? Still too green for your taste. He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe. He didn't overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking. Put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. If is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that returns this diary? It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence to prove the victim will continue writing his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. Decisive evidence proving the diary didn't end with this page is... page. First, take a close look at this diary. Note that the page has clearly been ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. It just so happens I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Because I don't believe it! Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifi Gramarye as the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. What's in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match, but the torn remains of the last page of Magnifi's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Gramarye left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valiant Gramarye. No! The handwriting, too, matches that on the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order! But wait, that's impossible. Oh man, couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally, you just couldn't resist, could you, Erret? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Air Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin? Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses. I only ask to put it on hold! Please, my new witness has a very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes. No more. I promise. Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. It might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly irregular, we'll put the current cross-examination on hold. Witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with a witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say? I thought best to contain the information to this room. Very well. And you are the witness, I gather? Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Masham. I'm a painter. Painter, and you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? What this is? Oh, yeah, I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah, I mean, I made it. You... What? You made it? Yes, you might call it one of my works. Prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Gramarye. Legal evidence. I initiated an investigation and found this witness, a painter to the world at large. Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled at making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries. Well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it. I didn't prepare this evidence.
Objection!
The attorney speaks. There's something about this page, I presume, but what is he saying? It makes no sense. Girl, was it you who presented this evidence to us? Phoenix Wright. Witness? Mr. Masham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client? That's... I don't know. Oh, what? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court? My court. It was careless of me. That's all I can say. Oh boy! Here. What's this? Oh, I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with spiky hair. They said it was really important. It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright? Yes. Do you have an explanation for yourself? I did. Would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime. Presenting in court, a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. A fatal too, perhaps for your clients, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor? Wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime. You cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. I am sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor. Another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. So too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney? Yes. Did I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright? I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Oh, I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way. This trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Ah, Your Honor? Yes, Mr. Zack. There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict? When your defendant does not exist? Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I am talking about this. Mr. Enigmar! The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double! He must not be allowed to escape. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Magnifi Gramarye, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. This is the Gramarye miracle! Ha 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 ha! No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial magician Magnifi Gramarye vanished along with him for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however. But not until 7 years later. Yep. Well, I guess that wraps up that section of seeing the past and what happened. Yeah. Yeah. So now we've kind of discovered that the entire diary might have been fake from what we learned in the future or something like that. Oh. I don't know. This is all going all weird and magical and stuff. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, share, liking, commenting, and or subscribing. I think I managed not to cough once. I had espresso, but anyway. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. If you really enjoyed it, consider supporting the channel. All support greatly helps her keep being content like this and more. My links for that in the description below, along with links to me on social media. So thank you again for watching. Thank you again, Capcom Creators, for the code. And until next time, this is rinimt signing out. Bye!